Hi everyone, it's Adam Brooks here. I just thought I'd do my presentation with all the issues that we're having with the sound at the moment. The other presenters are going to present in due course. Unfortunately, I think what's happened is the new Google Hangouts uh, that's just been released has obviously got a little bit of a bug in it. Unfortunately, we weren't able to do the TMWAreach episode tonight, but I'll continue on with my presentation, and the others, as I said, will post a little bit later on. So thanks for sticking around tonight. Um, so tonight I'm talking about a case for why we should stop using the terms STEM and STEAM and focus on the pedagogy that started it all. Um, So, STEM or STEAM or STREAM, I think all of these words are incorrect for a few different reasons. I think it makes us focus on the subject areas rather than the pedagogy behind it all. So I'm proposing that we actually get rid of all of these names altogether. So um, STEM or STEAM approaches. So currently there's a few different approaches to STEM or STEAM. First one's called the science make stuff. Um, this isn't just necessarily science here. I'm not picking on science teachers, but um, yeah, a lot of the time teachers kind of go away and make stuff with their students. And don't get me wrong, that's a great approach, but it's not what we call STEM or STEAM. The next approach is what I call the lone wolf approach. That's when one teacher, either from science or maths or sometimes from technologies, tries to do something with one other area, and um, and they encompass that in a challenge. And while it's once again it's a great approach, it's not really the intention behind the STEM or STEAM approach. Uh, the third idea I've got here is when some teachers get together from different curriculum areas and they put together a challenge and they try and connect this back to the curriculum. This is getting better, and I think this kind of cross-curricular approach is great. But once again, I think it still misses the point a bit with when it comes down to the pedagogy behind it. And while I see this happening lots more, and I've actually suggested ideas in this area myself, um, I think it is still kind of missing part of that pedagogical reason why we do the STEM and STEAM. So what I prefer is that kind of students get together and they wonder something. They have some kind of inquiry-based question, and that brings about an authentic challenge that they're interested in. Um, and it pushes this, what I like to call the stuff I don't yet know barrier. And through the skills process, we actually they actually come to recognise content. So while in the previous example, the content is key, what I'm suggesting is actually we shouldn't focus on the content, but instead focus on the skills that come through this kind of authentic challenge, and through that we'll actually learn content much more deeply because it's meaningful and it helps create that experience. So I guess when I talk about these approaches, it's much more of a skills over content approach. We're not so much worried about how much content we're going to cover, and I know that scares a lot of teachers. You know, we're worried about that we have to cover every dot point in the Australian curriculum or the West Australian curriculum, but in fact, I think we're better off learning less in the curriculum, picking out the parts that are key, and focusing on the skills which are timeless. You know, the problem-solving skills, the collaborative working skills, the interpersonal skills. They're the skills that no matter what career you go into, you're going to be required to to have these skills. So with that, when there's a challenge, I like to use this term uncomfortably challenging, which is the how am I going to get past this this challenge that seems like it's completely out of my control without actually getting to that point where I hit the wall. Because if something's too easy, we're in that comfort zone and we're not actually learning. But we don't want to hit the wall. And I often teach my students about do you recognize when you hit the wall? What do you do? Do you watch YouTube videos, or do you talk to your friend? So when students start doing this, I can walk past and go, I think you've hit the wall. What are you going to get? Which strategy are you going to use to actually get back to that uncomfortably challenging zone? And I don't think we allow students to feel uncomfortable often enough. I think that sometimes we're a little bit too easy, and for us as teachers, that can be uncomfortable, seeing a student actually going through that uncomfortably challenging stage. But I think it's necessary for students to actually work their way through that and figure out the problem themselves. Another key thing with this kind of STEM or STEAM approach is that we need to have some kind of authentic problems, and with that comes an authentic assessment. The more realistic that we compose the problem, the better it's going to be for students in terms of their accountability, as well as their how much they're actually engaged in the topic as well. So the more authentic we can make it, the better it's going to be, I think. I like to talk about this, and for those of you that came to the STEAM presentation last year, I talked a lot about this, but a move from pedagogy through andragogy through to heutagogy. So, where does the teaching lie? Are we the sage on the stage? Are we the guide by the side? And who has the locus of control in all of this learning? Is it us as teachers, or are we handing this on to our students? The other thing I think is really important is that the design process is actually a cyclical process. So what I mean by that is when we get to the end of the project, or it might not necessarily be the end of the project, but when we come to the end of the design process and we've gone through and we've designed something, actually questioning the design that we came up with and making it better. I think students really struggle with this process, and I think it's got to do with how our assessment process works, in that we have a test and they do the best that they can, and that's it, and then we move on to the next subject area. Whereas the design process isn't like that. We actually we get to the end of it and we must reflect on it and work out, well, how are we actually going to improve it? And so often when my students are designing games and things like that, and they say, I'm finished, I say, well, a game is never finished. How can you actually make it better? What's going to make people come back to playing your game? And really getting them to think about the process of improvement through the design process. So just to summarise, for me, the whole idea about doing projects like STEAM or STEM, although I don't like those terms, is that we maybe shouldn't forget about content, but spend less time on content and focus more on the skills. I think we really need to allow students to feel uncomfortable. Make sure that when we go through the design process that we allow time for students to actually go through the cycle a number of times. That authenticity for me is the key to engagement, and that move towards pedagogy, move away from pedagogy and towards heutagogy. So I'll put this presentation up online so you can check it out. Once again, apologies for tonight, and hopefully next time round we can get it all working again. We'll do a few trial runs just to make sure it's working all okay. Thank you very much, and I'll talk to you later.